when bad things happen to good people. It shakes our faith in the justice of God. That is why the question arises. Is it that God is bad, or is it that God is actually good? And even though God doesn't want this to happen, it happens because the power of the devil. First of all, let us understand what is a good thing and what is a bad thing. Let us inspect, are we actually good people? Are we? There are three kinds of consequences in the world. One is Nyay, the other is Anyay, and the third is Daya. Nyay means justice. Anyay means injustice. Daya means grace. In Singapore, if you do a misdemeanor and you are caught, they will catch you and whip you in public so badly that you'll think it's not worth it. An American citizen was caught there for some reason, and he was whipped. And if the judgment is 6 whippings, and after 3 you have to go to hospital, they don't reduce the sentence. They say, get yourself treated for a year and you come back and then complete it. Now you will say, this is awful. But the consequence is that the lowest crime rate is in Singapore. So this makes sense. Consequences shape behaviors. So that is why the system of justice in this world, that when you do something bad should happen to you. And that is also the law of God. However, when we see the reverse happening in society, that bad people are having good things happening to them, good people are seeing bad things happening to them, it shakes our faith in the justice of God. That is why the question arises. About 4 or 5 decades ago, there was a Jewish rabbi called Harold Kushner. He wrote a book exactly on this theme. When bad things happen to good people. The reason was that he was a rabbi, a Jewish priest, and his son developed progeria, the disease of premature aging. So in the space of 14 years, his son kept aging, and at the age of 14, he had the symptoms of an 85-year-old and then passed away. In front of the father's eyes, the son is suffering and then passing away. What bigger grief than this? So Harold Kushner began questioning that I never did anything so bad in my life. And my son, he had this problem from birth. Now they don't believe in a previous life. So he never did anything bad. And why is bad happening to him? Is it that God is bad? We are mistaken that he is a good personality, he is actually a bad personality. That is why this kind of thing is happening in the world. Or is it that God is actually good, but he is not strong enough? So sometimes the devil overpowers. And even though God doesn't want this to happen, it happens because the power of the devil. So now the question was that, is God not all good, or is he not all powerful? And he analyzes in his book and then comes to the conclusion that it's counterintuitive to say that God is not all good. By definition, God is all good. The second he chose to pick that, God is not all powerful. And he wants to do good, but he's not able to. And that is why bad things are happening to good people. Now, from our Vedic perspective, we have, a unipolar world. We don't have any devil. See, there is only God and nothing apart from God. And the material energy, Maya, that is a Shakti of God. If that is the case, we cannot say that God doesn't have the power to do good. And obviously, He is not deliberately wanting to do bad to us also, because He's our Father. Even in the world, people don't deliberately do bad. And why will God trouble us unnecessarily? So if bad things are happening to good people, then why are they happening? First of all, let us understand what is a good thing and what is a bad thing. What's your definition of good and bad? It is all relative based on time. Something seems bad now, later on it appears to be good, then again it appears to be bad, then again it appears to be good. So what is your time frame? In China, there was a farmer. A wild horse ran into his field. And all the neighboring farmers came and congratulated him. You have got a free horse. Such a good thing, such a good thing. He said, good or bad, who knows? Few days went by. And the horse which had been tamed, it ran away from the field. So the farmers came to commiserate. We heard your horse ran away. Such a bad thing, such a bad thing. He said, good or bad, the Lord alone knows. Few more days went by. That horse who had run away, he had gathered 20 horses and he returned with 20 more horses. So now this was a jackpot for a rural farmer to have 21 horses. The farmers came and said, you have won the lottery? Oh my God, such a good thing. He said, good thing, bad thing, who knows? Few more days went by. The farmer's son was a youngster. He was taming one of the wild horses and fell off and broke his leg. The neighbors said, look, if this whole episode had not taken place, your son's leg would not have broken. Such a bad thing. Again he said, good, bad, who knows? Few days went by and that country got into war with the neighboring country. So the king proclaimed all the youngsters between 17 and 24 must be recruited without exception if they are able-bodied. All the neighboring farmers' sons were taken into the army with an unknown future. But this farmer's son was left there because his leg was broken. So now, what is a good thing and what is a bad thing is the question. When we get comfort in the present, we say this is such a good thing. And from the divine perspective, that is not the good thing. The good thing is that which leads to inner growth, that awakens your soul, that lifts your consciousness, that illumines your intellect. And what people are perceiving as a bad thing may actually be a blessing in disguise. The fact is that when we get happiness in the world, most of us forget God. That is why it is said, Ashaiva paramam dukkham. To have this asha, I will get pleasure in the world. is the biggest dukh, misery. Nairashyam paramam sukham. To get disappointed, there is no happiness in the world. Nobody is mine. Sab bhaad mein jaye. This can be the best blessing, because then you turn yourself away from the world and start running in the direction of God. So what we are considering as good thing, from His perspective, God is considering as bad thing. And what we consider as bad thing, He considers as a good thing. Tam bhranshayami sampadbhyo yasya chechami anugraham. Sri Krishna says, when I wish to do anugraha, I take away the material pleasures of the soul. Hare Sri Krishna, why do you do that? So that the soul turns around from the world and comes to me. A child is playing with toys and has forgotten mummy. Now, a less wise mummy fights with the child. Why did you forget me? Intelligent mother tells the servant, get the toy snatched away. And when the toy is snatched, the child now remembers, I am hungry, I need mummy, and he cries out, and mother comes and feeds the child. Likewise, we are playing with the toys of the world. Toys to touch, toys to see, toys to hear, toys to smell, and toys to taste. And we've forgotten our eternal mother. So when God wishes to specially grace us, He arranges to snatch away these things. Even the Bible is saying God sometimes gives misery in our life to turn us away from sin and seek eternal life. So this is the eternal principle that all the saints have stated. God says that, O soul, what seems to you like a bad thing is actually a good thing. It is good for your spiritual elevation. Now, the other definition of good and bad can be to be happy in this world is a good thing, and to be miserable in this world is a bad thing. Some people would define like this. So then the question is that why is it that good people are unhappy in this world? Well, the fact is, in this world, nobody is happy. Actually, there are two kinds of people who are happy. We cannot say nobody. Ved Vyas has said it. Yascha moodh tamo loke, yascha buddhe parangata, tavu bhau sukhamedhete klishyatyantaritu jana. One is the God-realized saint, who has got the bliss of God. And the other is the insane, deranged lunatic who doesn't know that he is unhappy. If somebody is deranged, let us say that your neighbor has drunk and you see him in the evening lying in the gutter in front of his lot, and you say, Are bhai, padosi ji, why are you lying here? Why don't you go and lie in your bedroom? He says, I'm lying in my bedroom, where else am I like? His intellect has been destroyed by the alcohol, so he thinks this is the bedroom. Likewise, Vedvyas says that yascha mood, someone who is foolish can say I am happy, and someone who has attained God can say I am happy. Everybody else has to admit we are not yet happy. What is really happening with us is that we are good people and God wants us to become better. When we say bad things are happening to us, it's actually good things happening to us. Now the question is, let us inspect the other word, good people. Are we actually good people? Are we? Well, see, this material world is like the prison house of God. And the fact that we are here in this prison house means that we are with our backs to God. If we were surrendered saints, then we would have been in His divine abode. The fact that we are in the realm of Maya means that we are not really so good. Right? Now, if you ever visit a jailhouse, you will find out there that the prisoners are unhappy. And that is the purpose of the jailhouse. If the jailhouse becomes a comfortable place, then the prisoners will say, wow, this is the best thing that happened to me. When my term is over, then let me do something so I get back there. So the very purpose of the prison house is to mete out discomfort to you as a correctional punishment, so that when you are released, you say, Bhai, I will never do a crime again. Likewise, the world is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. It is temporary and it is an ocean of misery. It is deliberately designed like this. And the fact that we are here means that we are not so good people. So the sentence needs to be corrected. It's not that why do bad things happen to good people? Why do good things happen to not so good people? To make us better. God wants to make us better. And while we are in this prison house of God, there is a law of His called law of karma. Karma pradhan vishva kari rakha jo jas karai so tas phalu chakha. So this is the justice of God. As you sow, that shall you also reap. So based on our own karmas, we are getting the consequences. You know, one person came to Prabhupada and said, why am I having so much of misery in my life? The Prabhupada was a big acharya in the 1960s and 70s. Prabhupada said, because you are a rascal and you've done a lot of wrong. Now that doesn't sound so nice to hear. But the fact is that we've done bad karmas and we're getting the results. Now we want to forget that. And we say, no, why did this happen to me? It is our own karmas. In the case of Kushner, the problem was that his perspective was one lifetime and he could not understand. But our perspective is of innumerable lifetimes. And innumerable lifetimes, how many karmas, how many sins have we done? Infinite. You know, Dhritarashtra, he asked Sri Krishna, after the Mahabharata was over, what did I do that 100 of my sons passed away before my eyes? You know, one family member passing away is so much of grief. And Dhritarashtra, imagine his plight. Sri Krishna said, Dhritarashtra, in this life you did not do any such terrible thing. What about your past life? Sri Krishna blessed him so he could remember 3 past lives. Dhritarashtra said, no Maharaj, nothing so awful. Before that, not so awful. Before that, even then not so awful. Before that, Maharaj, I don't remember. So Sri Krishna said, Dhritarashtra, you remember 3 lives. You have had infinite lives. I remember them all. 50 lives ago, you were a hunter. There was a crane, male and female, and they had 100 children. And at that time, for your own pleasure, you killed the crane And those children suffered so much, and the female crane became blind, and you enjoyed it. And then you killed the children as well. So this was the karma that was accompanying you. Dhritarashtra said, then why did I get it after 50 lifetimes? Shri Krishna said, it took you 50 lives to again become a human being. So God alone knows our karmas of endless lifetimes. So He is meting out justice to us. Whenever bad things happen, we should think it must be my past karma. This is the attitude when you have an accident. Let's just suppose. One is, why did it happen to me? The other is, I must have done something awful. It passed away in a little karma. The intelligent person thinks like that. It passed away in a little karma. God is so kind, He cut it. All of us have the karma of endless lifetimes called Sanchit. When this burns, that is when we will be liberated or attain mukti. And on the way, we are doing new karmas. Right? So how will this whole account go to zero? It will go to zero if you stop doing all karmas and then slowly the past karmas burn out. But here, alongside, we are creating new karmas. And our past sanchit is of endless lifetimes. Now, infinity minus 100,000 is still infinity. So how will it burn? God has got another law. This is His law of daya, of kripa, of grace. He says, Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshishyami ma shucha. Arjun, you come and surrender to me, giving up all kinds of religiosity. And I will burn away all your past sins. So this is the law of grace, of daya. Even in the world, in India, the law is like this. That if somebody is convicted of murder, very often the case goes all the way to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court declares the death sentence. There's nothing beyond the Supreme Court. Now what to do? But the law says that convict can still go to the president for mercy. If the president decides, it is in his ability to condone. But the president will not be whimsical. Oh, I like this guy's nose. Let me condone him. There will be a rule there also. If this stipulation is met, the president will condone. Likewise, God says, if I do nyaya or justice, your endless karmas will continue for endless lifetimes. I will need to bestow grace or daya. And if you want daya, you will need to surrender to me. There is no other way. You will have to do mam ekam sharanam vraja, and then aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshishyami ma shucha. So that is why God is not unjust. He is infinitely merciful. He is our eternal Father. He wants our welfare. And if He is giving us hardship and difficulties, it is only for our benefit. You people have heard from me this example so often of the boy who found a cocoon hanging from the rose bush of his garden. And he was so mesmerized that he would see the butterfly emerging from it. So every day going to school, coming back, he would check his personal science laboratory. Is the butterfly coming out? One day after a few weeks, sure enough, there was a tear in the cocoon. The boy was coming after every hour to sight the butterfly. Since it was a Saturday, by midday, the butterfly's head was clearly visible, and the child was looking transfixed as the butterfly was extricating itself from its home for the last 30 days. The boy was looking, it was a struggle, but the butterfly was winning. And halfway through, it seemed to get jammed. No more progress was happening. The cocoon was bobbing up and down. The boy said, a very bad thing is happening to the butterfly. Let me do my good deed for the day. So, in his perspective, this was a bad thing. He ran home, got a pair of scissors and clipped the butterfly's cocoon. He thought, I have done a good thing. The butterfly will fly into the sky, but it dropped to the ground. He looked and its stomach was swollen and wings were shriveled. He said, maybe this will soon correct itself. But this was now never going to happen. That struggle of coming out from the cocoon was necessary for the butterfly's evolution. It would have squeezed the fluid from the stomach into the wings. Without the struggle, the butterfly was going to remain crippled. So likewise, when we face hardships, difficulties in our life, we also look for somebody who will cut them all and throw them away. But we don't realize it's God's way of filling our wings for the spiritual flight. Without those strong wings, we cannot reach the destination. So it is in the difficult times that growth happens. Sri Aurobindo said, the darkest nights prepare for the greatest dawns. The world is so designed as the university of hard knocks, it presses us. And we face it and grow from inside as a consequence. So let us change our definition of good and bad. Rather than judging from material comfort, ignite in yourself the aspiration for spiritual awakening. Then you will say, oh God, I leave it to you now. Sri Aurobindo, you see, look at the way he prays. He came about 100 years ago. He says, oh Lord, if I have any stupidity in any fiber of my being, don't be lenient with me. Take a sword and chop it off. Whatever is required to purify me, go ahead and do it. This is the prayer of a person who is spiritually aspiring. And the prayer of a person who's materially aspiring, oh God, don't give me difficulty because it makes me uncomfortable. Well, God will give it whether you like it, whether you don't, because He loves us. And He knows that if we stay in our comfort zone, we'll never progress. So because He cares for us, He keeps arranging for our progress through sukh and dukh, through success and failure, through all different ways. We have to learn to take them in our stride and move ahead.